There are moments in life when the weight on your shoulders feels heavier than anything you've carried before. You wake up tired, not because you slept late, but because your soul has been running all night trying to hold together pieces that were never meant to be held by human hands. The pressure builds, the noise increases, and everything inside you whispers the same question: is God still with me? Or am I walking through this valley alone? That question, though silent on your lips, echoes loudly in your mind. You try to pray, but the words feel thin. You try to worship, but the tears interrupt you. You try to believe, but doubt slips in like a thief. And even though you know the promises of God, life has a way of making you wonder whether those promises still apply to you when everything around you seems to be falling apart. But hear this clearly, not from me, but from the God who formed you. You are not abandoned. You are not forsaken. You are not walking this season by yourself. God has never stepped away from you, even when you stepped away from him, even when your faith thinned out, even when you questioned his presence. He never questioned his commitment to you. God's presence is not a reward for perfect behavior. It is a covenant rooted in perfect love. You might lose your grip on him, but he never loses his grip on you. You may feel like you're drowning, but he's the one holding your head above the water when you don't even realize it. You look at the storm and think you're surviving it. God looks at the same storm and says, you're only standing because I'm keeping you up. There were dangers you never saw because he blocked them. There were attacks formed against you that never reached you because he intercepted them. There were decisions you made that should have destroyed your future, but grace stepped between you and the consequences. You think you're here because you're strong. No, you're here because God refused to let the darkness have the final word over your life. God doesn't leave his children. He carries them. His presence isn't a feeling, it's a fact. Feelings change with seasons, but truth stays rooted in eternity. And the truth is simple. The God who began your story hasn't walked out of the room. He's closer than the air in your lungs, nearer than your own heartbeat. People may leave, circumstances may shift, promises from humans may break, but God's commitment to you is non-negotiable, non-reversible, and non-cancelable. Even when you don't feel him, he's there. When you don't hear him, he's there. When life goes silent, heaven doesn't. God doesn't need to speak for him to be present. Sometimes his silence is not absence, it's strategy. Sometimes God hides his voice to sharpen your dependence. He steps back a little, not to leave you, but to train you to walk by faith and not by instinct. Because if every time you felt uncomfortable, he rescued you instantly, you would never develop the strength that can only be built through pressure. God doesn't leave you in the fire, he joins you in it. He doesn't remove you from the storm, he proves himself in the middle of it. He doesn't stop the battle, he empowers you to win it. That's the kind of God you serve. Not distant, but intimate, not observing, but involved, not watching from heaven, but stepping into the mess with you. Some of the greatest seasons of divine closeness happen during your darkest nights. Nights where nobody sees your tears except God. Nights where your heart breaks quietly. Nights where you feel forgotten by everyone but him. And if you look back, you'll realize something powerful. Every valley you survived because he walked it with you. Every season that should have crushed you didn't, because he held you together when everything else was falling apart. You are not here by luck. You are here by grace. You are not breathing by chance. You are breathing because God is not finished with you. And the enemy knows it. That's why he attacks you. Not because you are weak, but because you are chosen. He fights you hardest in the exact place where God plans to use you the most. You're not under attack because you're empty. You're under attack because you're carrying destiny. And hear me on this. If God ever intended to leave you, he would have left you before the battle started, not in the middle of it. But the fact that you're still standing, even with everything against you, is proof that God never walked away, because you couldn't have held yourself up this long if he wasn't strengthening you. You wouldn't have survived the nights that almost broke you if he wasn't watching over you. You wouldn't be alive right now if God had ever withdrawn his hand. So don't trust your feelings more than you trust his faithfulness. Your feelings change with weather. His presence is anchored in eternity. You may not understand everything, but you're not alone in anything. You belong to a God who goes before you, walks beside you, and covers you from behind. A God who turns graves into gardens, ashes into beauty, tears into testimony. A God who refuses to abandon what he started. A God who doesn't walk away when the fight gets tough. He steps closer. So breathe, not because your situation has changed, but because the one who stands with you has never changed. You're not abandoned. You're not forgotten. And you're not fighting this battle alone. God is with you right now, right here, closer than your next breath. There comes a point in every believer's life when they look at their prayers and wonder why nothing seems to move. You've cried, you've begged, you've declared verses, you've fasted, you've waited, and yet the situation sits in front of you like a mountain that refuses to shift. And in those moments, you start questioning yourself. Maybe I don't have enough faith. Maybe God isn't listening. Maybe I missed something. But the truth is far more liberating than the lies you whisper to yourself. The delay isn't a denial. The wait doesn't mean God is inactive. The silence doesn't mean God is absent. What you call a delay, God calls preparation. God never gives a promise without preparing you to carry it. Sometimes you're not waiting for the blessing. The blessing is waiting for you to grow into the person who can handle it without losing your mind. God won't give you what will destroy you. He won't elevate you to a level your character cannot sustain. And as much as you want the breakthrough right now, God loves you enough to hold it back until you're strong enough to receive it. You may not like that process, but it's necessary. Faith that never gets tested never becomes strong. Trust that never gets stretched never becomes deep. And patience that never gets exercised never becomes mature. God isn't just building your future, he's building you. And you cannot step into a divine promise with an undeveloped heart. You cannot walk into your next season carrying the immaturity of your last one. God grows you before he blesses you, because blessings without growth become burdens. Grace without discipline becomes carelessness. Favor without foundation becomes foolishness. That's why God sometimes takes you the long way around. Not to punish you, but to prepare you. Not to frustrate you, but to form you. Not to delay you, but to develop you. He's not slow. He's strategic. He's not late. He's intentional. Every closed door, every unanswered prayer, every delayed opportunity has purpose behind it. You think God is doing nothing. God is doing everything. He is arranging, aligning, adjusting, protecting, maturing, strengthening, and orchestrating what you cannot see. There are battles God didn't let you fight because you weren't ready. There are opportunities God didn't let you take because they would have trapped you. There are relationships he blocked because they would have broken you. There are paths he closed because they would have crushed you. You call it disappointment. God calls it deliverance. You call it setback. God calls it strategy. You call it silence. God calls it sovereignty. God doesn't owe you explanations. He owes you outcomes. And when he gives you what he promised, you will look back and thank him for every delay you used to cry over. Because the day will come when you realize that if God had answered your prayer when you wanted, you would have settled for something smaller than what he planned. Sometimes God delays the blessing so he can expand the blessing. Sometimes God stretches the wait so he can enlarge the miracle. Sometimes God makes you walk through the valley so you can appreciate the mountain. And while you're waiting, God isn't just preparing the blessing. He's preparing you to carry it. You are learning patience, learning discernment, learning spiritual discipline, learning resilience, learning trust, learning surrender, learning humility. The weight of the waiting is building the strength you'll need when the door finally opens, because some doors don't require talent, they require spiritual stamina, God knows what he's doing even when you don't. He sees what you can't. He sees attacks you don't know are coming. He sees trouble you're not prepared for yet. He sees responsibilities you're not mature enough to handle. And instead of giving you what you want right away, he strengthens you until you are ready for what he already ordained. You keep thinking the wait is wasted. God never wastes a season. Every tear has purpose. Every prayer has weight. Every night you stayed awake, worrying has been counted. Every morning you force yourself to keep going has been recorded. Heaven has seen every step you've taken in faith. Nothing you've endured has been meaningless. God uses everything, even the things you wish never happened. Even pain becomes seed in the hands of God. There are some things God will only teach you through the storm. Some things he will only reveal through weakness. Some breakthroughs he will only birth through pressure, not because he enjoys watching you struggle, but because he knows what kind of power is birthed in a refined soul. He knows what kind of strength rises out of brokenness. He knows what kind of wisdom grows out of trials. You don't grow on the mountaintop, you grow in the valley. You don't grow in comfort, you grow in discomfort. You don't grow in ease, you grow in endurance. And when you finally come out of the season, you won't come out empty. You'll come out wiser, stronger, clearer, deeper, more grounded, more mature, more stable, and more aligned with God's voice than ever before, because the real blessing was never the thing you were waiting for. The real blessing was the person God was shaping you into while you were waiting. And even though the wait feels long, God has perfect timing. He will not be early, and he will not be late. He will step in at the exact second that causes all things to align. He'll move the moment the move will have maximum impact. He doesn't operate on your schedule. He operates on his sovereignty. Your clock measures hours. God's clock measures purpose. So don't quit right before the breakthrough. Don't walk away because it's taking longer than you expected. Don't lose faith because the answer hasn't arrived yet. You're closer than you think. You're stronger than you feel. And God is working harder than you realize. The wait is not a wall. It's a workshop. And God is shaping you into someone who can not only handle the blessing, but protect it, multiply it, and give him glory through it. You may not see the results yet, but heaven sees your endurance. And God rewards those who refuse to give up in the middle of the process. Hold on. Keep trusting, keep praying, keep believing. What God promised will come, but it will come when both the promise and the person are ready. There comes a point in every believer's life when the storms rise so fiercely that you start questioning everything you thought you knew about God. You look around and nothing makes sense. The things you prayed for didn't happen. The things you feared did. The people you trusted walked away. The plans you built collapsed. And you find yourself asking the kind of questions you never thought you'd ask. God, where are you in this? Why would you allow this? Why didn't you stop it? And if you're honest, deep inside, there's a quiet frustration, a weariness that sits in your chest like a weight you can't shake off. You try to praise, but your voice trembles. You try to pray, but the words feel empty. You try to stand in faith, but your legs feel weak. You try to keep going, but everything in you whispers, maybe this is the end of the road. But hear me. Just because the storm got louder doesn't mean God got weaker. Just because the night got darker doesn't mean God stopped shining. And just because you can't trace his hand doesn't mean you can't trust his heart. God never promised that life would be easy. He promised that he would be with you in every season, every valley, every fire, every tear, and every battle. And sometimes the presence of the storm is actually proof of the presence of God, because the enemy doesn't fight what isn't a threat. You think the storm came to destroy you? The truth is the storm came to reveal you. It came to show you what's really inside you. It came to pull out the faith you forgot you had. It came to cut away the things you were leaning on that could never hold you. God allows storms to expose false foundations. He allows pain to push you out of comfort zones you never would have left on your own. He allows shaking so he can stabilize what was unstable. He allows breaking so he can rebuild what was never strong enough to begin with. The storm isn't punishment, it's preparation. God isn't trying to hurt you. He's trying to strengthen you. He's not trying to remove you. He's trying to root you. You keep asking God to calm the storm. God is using the storm to calm you, to mature you, to grow you into someone who doesn't panic under pressure, doesn't collapse under criticism, doesn't break under fear, and doesn't lose faith when the wind starts blowing. Because too many believers only trust God when the sun is out. Too many only praise when life is smooth. Too many only pray when they're desperate. But faith isn't proven in comfort. It's proven in crisis. Anybody can shout God is good when life feels good. The real test is when nothing feels good and you still declare his goodness. That's the kind of faith God is building in you. A faith that doesn't depend on feelings. A faith that doesn't collapse when circumstances shift. A faith that knows how to stand even when everything around you is shaking. And here's W. Hat, you need to understand, storms don't show up in empty lives. They show up in lives with purpose. Nobody breaks into an empty house. The enemy attacks you because you are carrying something heaven back, something hell fears, something that threatens darkness. The anointing on your life is the very reason you're being fought so aggressively. The enemy isn't scared of who you are now. He's terrified of who you're becoming. And you don't even see what God sees in you. When you look in the mirror, you see someone tired. God sees someone chosen. You see someone weak. God sees someone being strengthened. You see someone broken. God sees someone being rebuilt. You see someone who's barely making it. God sees someone who's about to step into a version of themselves they never dreamed possible. The storm is not the end of your story. It's the middle chapter, the part where things look hopeless, but victory is being formed behind the scenes. God is not pacing heaven wondering what to do about your situation. He's not improvising. He's not scrambling. He's already written the ending. And the ending is victory. The ending is breakthrough. The ending is restoration. The ending is testimony. You're worried about something God already solved before you were born. And here's the part you need to grab onto. God does his best work in the dark. Seeds grow underground. Butterflies are formed in hidden cocoons. Diamonds are shaped in pressure. And believers are strengthened in storms. If God pulled you out too early, you'd come out underdeveloped. To build stamina, he lets you feel the wind. To build courage, he lets you face the waves. To build maturity, he lets you stand in seasons that test every part of your character. But he never leaves you in the storm alone. You may not see him, but he's holding the boat. You may not hear him, but he's speaking to the waves. You may not feel him, but he's anchoring your soul. And the very fact that you're still standing is proof that the storm didn't win. If the storm had the power to destroy you, you wouldn't be here. If the enemy had the authority he pretends to have, you would have collapsed long ago. But you're here, surviving what was meant to break you. That's not weakness. That's evidence of divine strength. God is going to use this storm, not just to bring you through, but to bring you higher. Not just to save you, but to shape you. Not just to deliver you, but to upgrade you. And when you come out, and you will, people won't recognize the person you've become. The storm you hated will become the testimony you tell. The pain that broke you will become the platform you stand on. And the battle you thought would end you will become the chapter that defines you. Hold steady. Don't run. Don't quit. Don't fold. God hasn't left you. He's perfecting you. He's stabilizing you. He's strengthening you. And when he's finished, you won't just survive, you'll shine. The storm is not your funeral. It's your formation. And when God is done, the storm that tried to drown you will be the very thing that lifts you. Loss is a reality that every person will face. There will be moments when your plans crumble, when your heart breaks, when what you thought was solid is suddenly gone. You've invested time, energy, and emotion into things that felt permanent, and now they're gone. You've trusted people who betrayed you. You've held dreams that slipped from your grasp. You've walked through seasons that left scars, leaving you asking God why. And maybe you've carried this loss quietly, pretending you're okay, telling yourself, I'll get over it. But deep down, the pain hasn't gone anywhere. Let me tell you something the world won't tell you. Loss is not your final chapter. What you lost may feel permanent, but it is in. OT, end of God's story for you. Loss is temporary. Restoration is eternal. And God is in the business of restoration. He doesn't just put a Band-Aid on your wounds. He doesn't just patch the broken pieces and send you back to the same life. He restores fully, deeply, and abundantly. Joel said, I will restore to you the years that the locusts have eaten. That means the time you thought was wasted, the opportunities you missed, the moments that should have been yours, they're not gone. God can redeem every single one of them. God doesn't restore just to make things look the same. He restores to make things better. Sometimes what you get back is stronger than what you lost. Sometimes the blessing God gives is not a replacement, but a promotion. Sometimes the restoration comes with a depth, a wisdom, a favor, and a testimony that you could never have earned on your own. Look at Job. He lost everything, his wealth, his family, his health. And when the story was over, God didn't just give him what he had before. He gave him double, more than he had ever imagined. And Job's restoration wasn't just material. It was spiritual, emotional, and relational. The same God who restored Job is ready to restore you. Stop living like your past defines you. Stop mourning as if what was lost is permanent. Stop believing that failure has disqualified you. God's restoration doesn't look at your mistakes, it looks at his plan. God doesn't define you by your past, by what's been taken from you, or by how broken you feel. He defines you by what he is preparing to restore. And here's the secret. Restoration often comes after the darkest seasons. You may not see it yet. You may feel like the pieces are scattered beyond repair, but God is at work behind the scenes, arranging, preparing, redeeming. What looks like a loss is actually a setup. What feels like an ending is actually a preparation for something greater. And this restoration comes with conditions. Not conditions you can't meet, but conditions of faith, obedience, and patience. Abraham didn't see the ram until he climbed the mountain. Peter didn't catch the miraculous fish until he cast the net. God doesn't restore without your participation. You have to walk toward the promise. You have to trust when your understanding says no. You have to move in faith, even when the circumstances feel impossible. Because God's restoration is not passive, it's active. It requires surrender. It requires trust. It requires stepping out when all the natural signs say, stay put. And don't let time fool you. Restoration may not come quickly. It may not arrive on your timetable, but delay is not denial. What God promises, he performs. Sometimes he restores internally before externally. Sometimes he rebuilds character before circumstances. Sometimes he strengthens faith before favor. The enemy wants you to give up, to assume that the wait means God has forgotten. But God never forgets. Every tear is counted. Every prayer is remembered. Every pain is part of a process. And when God restores, he does it with perfection, with precision, with purpose, and sometimes with interest. Restoration isn't just for comfort, it's for testimony. God doesn't just restore to make you whole. He restores to glorify himself in your life. He restores so the world will see that no loss is too great, no failure too final, no season too dark for his power to redeem. He restores so that when people watch your life, they will witness the faithfulness of God. And that's why restoration feels so personal. Because God is not just filling in the gaps. He is rewriting your story. He is turning your mourning into dancing, your grief into joy, your despair into hope. And the restoration God promises is not partial. It's not just enough to get by. It's complete, overflowing, abundant, and eternal. He restores relationships, finances, health, reputation, and purpose. He restores your passion, your vision, your calling. He restores confidence, strength, and courage. And even if you've walked through betrayal, abandonment, or disappointment, his restoration is sufficient to cover every loss, every scar, every setback. So don't shrink back. Don't settle for scraps. Don't believe that what's gone is gone forever. Take hold of God's promise. He restores the years, the dreams, the relationships, the opportunities, the things that were stolen from you. God can return them with blessing, with favor, with increase, and with glory. And while you wait, while you trust, while you believe, remember that restoration is already at work. What is broken today is being rebuilt. What is lost today is being recovered. What feels empty today is being filled. And what feels final today is being prepared for a miracle. Stop mourning like God has done. Stop thinking the enemy has the final say. Stop believing that loss defines you. God is not finished with your story. He never was. He never will be. And when his restoration comes, it will be undeniable. It will be unmistakable. It will be glorious. And when you stand in it, when you walk in it, when you live in it, the world will see that God never breaks a promise, that even in the darkest valleys, he is faithful. That even when you feel least like yourself, he is most himself. That even when it seems hopeless, he is working hope into your life. So breathe, step forward, trust. Hold on. Your restoration is on the way. God is faithful. He is good. He is just, and he will restore. Not someday, not maybe, but surely, abundantly, and gloriously. Your story is not over. Your best chapter is coming. And God's restoration is proof that nothing can separate you from his love and high. If you're tired, I don't mean a little tired. I mean soul weary, bone weary, spirit drained, tired. You've been running on empty for weeks, months, maybe even years. You've carried burdens that were never meant for you alone. You've pushed yourself to the limit, trying to hold it all together, trying to make things work in your strength. And somewhere along the way, you started to believe that strength is what you need. You tell yourself, I have to be strong. I have to keep going. I have to fix this. But let me tell you the truth that every believer needs to hear. Real strength doesn't come from striving. Real strength comes when you've run out of your own. Isaiah said it best, but those who wait on the Lord shall renew their strength. They shall mount up with wings like eagles. They shall run and not be weary. They shall walk and not faint. You see, strength isn't measured by how long you can carry the weight, how many battles you can fight, or how much you can endure alone. Strength is measured by how willing you are to lean on God when you've got nothing left, when your energy is gone, when your hope feels small, when your faith is stretched thin. That's when his power shows up. That's when his supernatural strength rises in you. Think about Moses. He had the weight of an entire nation on his shoulders. Every decision, every burden, every complaint, every crisis landed on him. He was human. He was exhausted. And yet God didn't leave him to figure it out alone. God didn't demand that Moses conjure the power himself. God carried him. When you feel like you can't go on, he doesn't just sit back and watch. He steps in and his strength flows through the cracks of your weakness. That's how his power works. It's made perfect in weakness. And let's not forget Elijah, burnt out, spiritually exhausted, tired of the fight. He even prayed for death because the weight was too much to bear. But God met him, not with condemnation, not with rebuke, not with demands, but with rest, food, and a whisper. a quiet, gentle whisper that revived him, strengthened him, and reminded him that God's power is never dependent on human stamina. And Paul, he begged God to remove the thorn in his flesh. He said, please, God, take this weakness away. And God didn't remove it. He said, my grace is sufficient for you, for my power is made perfect in weakness. Here's the lesson. Weakness isn't the end. Weakness is the invitation for God's strength. Weakness is the platform from which his supernatural power can move. Weakness is the space where heaven intervenes. So if you feel like you've got nothing left today, hear this. You are exactly where God does his best work. You are exactly where his strength begins. You are exactly where the impossible becomes possible. Because when your strength fails, his rises. When your effort is exhausted, his grace shows up. When you've given everything you have, God gives what you cannot produce. That's the promise. That's the truth. That's the word of God alive in your situation. But there's a step you have to take. You can't just wish for strength and sit still. First, be honest. Tell God the truth. I am weary. I am broken. I am tired. Stop pretending you're stronger than you are. Stop comparing your endurance to someone else's. Stop hiding the cracks. God doesn't require pretenses. He requires honesty. Second, wait. Don't try to manufacture your own strength. Don't look for shortcuts, hacks, or quick fixes. Don't numb yourself with temporary solutions. Wait. In waiting, God moves. In waiting, he replenishes. In waiting, he strengthens. Third, lean. Lean into him with every part of your being. Lean into his promises. Lean into his word. Lean into his spirit. Don't fight alone. Don't carry the load yourself. Let God shoulder it with you. Strength isn't always dramatic. Sometimes it's subtle. Sometimes it comes as a quiet peace that allows you to take the next step. Sometimes it's the courage to rise one more time when everyone else would stay down. Sometimes it's the renewed vision, the second wind, the ability to keep walking even when the road is dark and the obstacles are enormous. That's how God's strength works. It doesn't demand attention. It doesn't announce itself loudly, but it carries you, sustains you, and enables you to endure what you could never endure alone. And here's what you need to hear. The battles you're in, the stress, the heartbreak, the weight, it's not too much for God. Your exhaustion does not limit him. Your fear does not hinder him. Your failure does not disqualify you. The same God who raised the dead, split seas, and called light out of darkness is the same God who is ready to infuse strength into your tired, weary, beaten down spirit today. You don't need to be enough. You don't need to figure it all out. You don't need to have the solution. You just need to wait, trust, and allow his strength to rise in you. And let me tell you, when that strength rises, it changes everything. You don't just survive the storm, you walk through it with victory. You don't just endure the battle, you triumph in it. You don't just cope, you rise. You become an example of what God can do when weakness meets his power. You become living proof that his promises are true. You become the person who can stand in the chaos and say, I may be weary, but my God is mighty. I may be weak, but his power is perfect. I may be exhausted, but his strength sustains me. So don't quit. Don't collapse. Don't settle for the limits of your own strength. God is calling you to something greater. He is calling you to step out, stand firm, and watch his power work where you're strengthy. NDS. He is calling you to embrace the exhaustion as the very place where his glory will shine. He is calling you to believe that when you have nothing left, you have everything you need because God is enough. This is the promise. When your strength fails, his begins. When you are empty, he fills. When you are weak, he empowers. When you feel like giving up, he lifts you higher than you could ever climb on your own. So stand, wait, lean, trust. And watch as his supernatural strength carries you, sustains you, and empowers you to finish strong, to fight the good fight, and to live in victory that only heaven can provide. That peace. Such a small word, yet such a powerful promise. And let's be honest, peace is rare in our world today. The headlines scream chaos. Social media floods your mind with anxiety. Bills pile up, relationships strain, dreams feel delayed, health worries overwhelm, and the world seems determined to steal every ounce of calm you have left. And yet, in the midst of all that, God whispers something different. Peace I leave with you, my peace I give you. I do not give as the world gives. Do not let your hearts be troubled, and do not be afraid. Think about that for a moment. My peace, not your peace, not the peace that comes when everything goes your way, not the peace that comes from having control over every situation, but the kind of peace that comes from Jesus himself, the kind of peace that can stand unmoved in a violent storm, the kind of peace that does not panic when the world around you is shaking, the kind of peace that speaks, peace, be still, and even the winds obey. And that's exactly what he offers to you today, right now. Not when the storm ends, not when the problem disappears, not when life becomes easier, not when everyone else calms down. Right now, in the middle of chaos, God offers peace that surpasses understanding, peace that your heart and mind. Peace that stands as a fortress between you and fear. You see, the world teaches you to chase peace through things that cannot sustain it. Money, vacations, apps, entertainment, distractions. They promise relief, but only deliver temporary satisfaction. And when that fades, anxiety returns, worry creeps in, fear grips, and stress dominates. But God's peace is different. His peace is supernatural. It cannot be manufactured. It cannot be stolen. It cannot be bought. It is anchored in the character of God himself, in his unchanging nature, in his faithfulness, in his sovereignty. Look at the disciples in the storm. The wind was violent. The waves were crashing. Their fear was visible, their panic loud. And yet Jesus slept in the midst of it. Why? Because he knew something they didn't. The storm wasn't stronger than his word. The waves weren't more powerful than his promises. The chaos wasn't greater than his authority. That is the same peace available to you today. The kind of peace that allows you to sleep in the middle of trials. The kind of peace that guards your mind when anxiety is trying to invade. The kind of peace that refuses to panic because it trusts in the one who never fails. Philippians 4:6-7 says it like this. Do not be anxious about anything, but in everything by prayer and petition with thanksgiving, present your requests to God. And the peace of God, which transcends all understanding, will guard your hearts and your minds in Christ Jesus. Do you see it? There's a condition here. Don't be anxious. How? By giving it all to God, by prayer, by thanksgiving, by surrender. Peace is not passive. It requires action. It requires handing over the weight, letting go of control, trusting God with what you cannot fix, releasing what you cannot change. It requires a decision. Will you carry the worry or will you release it to the one W? Who can? And here's what I want you to understand. This peace is not just a feeling, it's a guard. Like a soldier standing at the gates of your heart and mind, God's peace blocks the enemy, stops fear in its tracks, and prevents chaos from taking residence inside you. But you have to let it. You have to stop rehearsing the worst case scenario. Stop living in past failures. Stop replaying pain. Stop feeding the fears that tell you the future is hopeless, and instead declare the truth of God's promises. Speak it over your life. Speak it over your home. Speak it over your mind. Speak it over your family. Speak it over your circumstances. This peace is for the moment. Not some distant day, not some hypothetical situation, not after everything works out. Right now, even in the storm, even in the waiting, even in the fear, even when you feel alone. You can have peace because God is present. You can have peace because his power is greater than your panic. You can have peace because he never abandons, never fails, never breaks his word. You can have peace because he has already overcome the world and he has promised to never leave you to face it alone. So what is robbing your peace today? Is it fear about the future? Is it anxiety about bills or health? Is it the stress of relationships? Is it the weight of regrets from the past? Listen carefully. These things only have power if you let them. Peace is a choice, not always easy, but necessary. Not a suggestion, but a command and a promise. Choose to surrender. Choose to release. Choose to trust. Choose to believe that God is bigger than your situation, stronger than your fears, and faithful beyond your imagination. You don't have to control everything. You don't have to figure it all out. You don't have to carry the weight alone. God's peace isn't dependent on your effort. It isn't contingent on your circumstances. It is based on his character, his promise, his unchanging word. That means it holds when the world is shaking. That means it stands when chaos rages. That means it guards when fear attacks. That means it is enough. Imagine standing in the middle of your storm and saying, I will not panic. I will not fear. I will trust the one who never fails. I will stand in his peace. Imagine that peace rising in you, calming your heart, steadying your mind, strengthening your spirit. Imagine that peace protecting your thoughts from doubt, your soul from despair, your body from the tension of worry. That is the power of God's promise. That is the gift of supernatural peace. That is what heaven offers in the middle of your struggle. And here's the beauty of it. When you walk in God's peace, it isn't just about surviving. It's about thriving. It's about standing firm when others fall apart. It's about seeing clarity when confusion surrounds you. It's about experiencing joy when sorrow is near. It's about reflecting heaven on earth because your soul is anchored in the one who is unshakable, unmovable, and eternal. So today, do this. Release your anxiety. Present your worries to God. Thank him for what he is already doing, even when you don't see it. Pray with faith, expecting his peace to rise in you. Declare over your mind, your heart, and your life that his peace stands guard over you. Stand still, wait, watch, believe, because the peace of God is not temporary, it is not fragile, and it is not dependent on circumstances. It is eternal, it is powerful. It is supernatural, and it is available to you right now. This is the promise. God's peace is yours. Right here, right now. In the middle of storms, in the middle of chaos, in the middle of fear, in the middle of life. Stand in it, walk in it, live in it. Let it guard your heart and mind in Christ Jesus. Nothing else matters when his peace has taken its place.